morning. Today is Tuesday, and it is Yud Aleph Shvat Tovshin Ayin Gimel, and we're in Teres Menachem, Sefer Mamar Tovshin Yud Aleph Tovshin Yud Beis, in the middle of the Mamar of Achon Shal Pesach Tovshin Yud Aleph, Veheinif Yodo al hanohor. We are on page Samach Aleph, in this latter part of Ois Gimel, chapter 3. We're speaking about Mashiach and the fact that Mashiach will judge through sight, through smell, as opposed to the conventional way of hearing the evidence and seeing the evidence. And the reason being, because Mashiach, well, we haven't gotten to that yet, but the Rebbe basically explained the difference between smelling and the idea of smelling is that it connects to the very essence of the soul. The nose being the portal to the brain, the right nostril connected to the level of chayin, the makif of chayin, which in the neshama would be chaya, and then the left nostril reaching all the way to chayin, the life of life, which is pnimius, the inner aspect of keser, and in the neshama, it's the very highest levels of the neshama, which is yichidish benefesh, or even higher, the etz of nefesh.
So you should only put smelling salts into the left nostril.
I was thinking about that, how it actually works. If, depending on how deep the person is fainted, if actually, Eddie and Kevin sent an image where they actually, there's something, what is it called?
Olfactory.
The olfactory nerve, which is the shortest nerve from the brain to the nose, and also the hole that it goes through, and so on and so forth. I'm just wondering if this, it must be that in atomic Chassidus, Kabbalah says like this, it must be that anatomically there should be also some difference between the two.
Yeah.
But that's beyond the scope of my brief, so I'll pass.
We need a volunteer.
Maybe we should bring a skull here tomorrow and have a look. Anyway, so, and this is the particular quality associated with Mashiach, the idea of the sense of smell, which reaches the very highest levels. By the way, I just want to let you know that I'm doing more research in the Inyan of Yosher and Chayzer, and in the next couple of days I hope that I will be able to elaborate on that a bit more. So, getting back to the Maimon and picking up the thread, so the Rebbe says that this is the idea of Mashiach, that the main quality of Mashiach, as the Pasuk describes it in this Nevuah, in the Nevuah of Yeshaya, that we are that the Maimon is based on, is the fact that he will judge with smell, through the sense of smell. Why? Because this is because of the special quality possessed in smell, which reaches the very essence, the very deepest dimensions of the inner aspect of Keser, the Pnimius of Atik. And the Rebbe went on to explain in chapter 3 that with this he also explained that the previous Rebbe's Sicha, where he said that the judgment of Mashiach through the sense of smell, it's not just that the method of judgment is different. That normally, conventionally, one judges through the presentation of evidence, and you analyze the evidence with your eyes and with your ears and with your intellect. So it's not just that when that Mashiach will judge, he won't need to analyze it, he'll be able to sense. He says the judgment is inherently a different one. Why? Because there is a concept which is known as do not judge your friend until you reach his place, meaning to say until you can understand and put yourself into the circumstances that have brought him to that situation. Mashiach will have the ability, in a word, it means that when Mashiach judges, he'll have the ability to reach the essence, to really get to the bottom of it. What's going on over here? What's the condition of the person? How did he get to this stage? And through that, he'll see not only how the person got to the stage, but he'll be able to delve into the essence of the person. Meaning to see that essentially the person is really good. So it's not just that the method is a different one, it's an inherently different judgment. And in order to highlight that part, we'll start from the very bottom of page Samach to pick up the thread of this Inyan, because we stopped basically in the middle. Right on the bottom of page Samach. The Rebbe is going to explain that we find circumstances that something could appear one way, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the essence of that is actually the way it appears. In other words, there's more to it than meets the eye, as the saying goes. He brings an example for that in the negative, but from that, the Rebbe basically says that in the positive, it also holds true.
Chesed or Gevura that is happening?
Very, very good question. It is essentially Gevura. Left is connected to Gevura. Yeah. But when Gevura, there's something which is called Chasodim Hagluim and Chasodim HaNe'elamim. Revealed Chasodim, which are limited Chasodim. Chasodim HaNe'elamim are unlimited Chasodim. But usually when they show themselves, sometimes they don't necessarily come down as Chasodim Niglim. We don't necessarily see them as revealed Chasodim. Over here, the idea is that you reach those very highest levels, but they actually manifest themselves as Chasodim as well. That's why it's Mashiach. It's the fusion of the two. But let's go into this Indian of how the Rebbe articulates that you find something that appears one way, and it not necessarily is that way be'etzem in its essence, in the negative sense. And through that, we also understand that in the positive sense, also, if something appears negative, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the way the essence is. And that's where he brings in Veheinif Zakai. So let's pick that up. We'll move on. Right at the very bottom of page Samach, the last three words. This is also understood based on that which is explained in a different place. Concerning that which Rabbi Veheinif Zakai said, just before he was about to pass on, Rabbi Veheinif Zakai said, I do not know in which path they're going to lead me, meaning to say either to Gan Eden or the other way. Although Rabbi Veheinif Zakai was at such a level that the Talmud says that he didn't leave a small matter or a big matter which he did not cover and did not master. And as we learned yesterday, Davar Katan is Maisa. What was it? Davar Katan is Maisa Merkava. The Torah connected to matters of the chariot, of the celestial chariot, and Davar Katan is Havayas Dabaya Verava, which means basically the entire Talmud. So Rabbi Veheinif Zakai mastered everything. And nevertheless, when it came to the very end of his life, he said, I don't know which way I'm being led. Veheinif, why is that? That is because the revealed powers, the state of the way, the revealed state of the person, the active state of the person, or the conscious state of the person, that does not point to what is happening with his essence. Which means, it is possible, it's possible that his revealed abilities, his conscious state is as it should be. And nonetheless, it's possible, notwithstanding the state of his revealed powers, his conscious state, it's possible that his essence is in the depths of Klippa. Very, very strong words. As proof, from Yochanan the high priest, who served as a Kohen Gadol for 80 years, as a high priest for 80 years, and in the end he became a tzduki, a Sadducee, which basically means he left the conventional path of Yiddishkeit. So we see that it's possible that the fact that he served as a Kohen Gadol, good morning, for 80 years proves that he was a tzaddik. Why? A Kohen Gadol who wasn't a tzaddik, and he would enter the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur. The Talmud says he would not live out the year. The Talmud says that when the Kohen Gadol went into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, they tied a chain around his ankle, so that if it took too long, if he was there for too long, they would schlep him out. Why? Because if the Kohen Gadol he wasn't up to it spiritually, he would perish, right? So Yochanan Kohen Gadol was at such a level that for 80 years he was a Kohen Gadol, which means 80 years he entered and exited the Kodesh HaKadoshim safely. When we call Makim nonetheless, and then what happened in the end? In the end, he became a tzduki. In the end, he left the path of normal of conventional Yiddishkeit. When we call Makim, Kivon she'etzem shaloi hoya b'imkei klippus, since his essence was in the depths of klippah. Very strong words. Hine b'meshech hazman, as time went on, nimshich zegam b'keches hagluyim, this came down and revealed itself in his revealed abilities. He became like that. To the extent, actually, to the extent that in the end he became a tzeduki. What do we see from this? From this, it's proven. We see the point being that the person's revealed state, conscious state, does not point to what's going on with his essence. It doesn't necessarily establish for us conclusively what is happening with his essence. So therefore, in the case of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, mitzad anvosanusei shel Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, because of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's modesty, hoya yorei, he was frightened concerning his essence, chulu, etc. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai indeed was at a very high level, but because in his conscious state, one's conscious state, revealed state, is not necessarily an indication that that's the way he has become, his essence has been transformed and elevated to such a level. Therefore, he said, "I'm not sure what's going on." From this is understood the other way around as well. This is the point that I was trying to make. Mashiach will not judge according to the exterior situation, condition of the person. Rather, he will judge based on the essence of the person. This is the idea of sensing or smelling and judging, that you judge based on the essence of the person rather than the appearance of the person. So if in the negative it works like that you can have somebody that appears to be a tzaddik, and indeed is a tzaddik, in the conscious sense, in the revealed sense, like Yochanan Kohen Gadol, or as Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai humbly referred to himself, it works the other way around as well. That a person could appear to be not up to scratch, not up to level in the Keches HaGluyim, but nevertheless, his essence may be in a different way at all. We have to understand this. Obviously, this is it's not, this is what the Rebbe says here. What does it mean that a person could behave in a negative way and his essence could be at a very high level? We know that usually it works the other way around. That a tzaddik is somebody who's either a tzaddik she'ena gamur or a tzaddik gamur, which means that the negative has been transformed, and that manifests itself in his behavior. It's hard to find an example where a person could be a Beinani or even a Rasha in his actual behavior, and nevertheless in his etzem, his etzem should be intact. So we have to elaborate on this a bit more. I have to say that I'm not ready to do that at this stage. But this is the point that Rebbe makes here, and let's hold that thought. That's one of the things that we have to come back to, as well as the idea of Yasher and Echezer, which I hope to do as well. But at least we've articulated the point that Rebbe makes, and then we have what to come back to and to see who's who and what's what and how does it play itself out. So this is the idea of Mashiach, that he will judge based on the essence. The main point that Rebbe is actually making is the fact that Mashiach will find reasons to justify the person.
Are we saying that the high priest was tzaddik v'rado? Because if he was tzaddik v'tovlo, he doesn't have to.
Well, let's put it this way: based on what the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya. Yeah, I mean, based on what the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya. Well, it's tzaddik b'shem hamushel. Beinani. Let's say Beinani. Beinani means.
To go into it says, unless he was a complete tzaddik, wouldn't be able to go into the.
Well, it means a complete tzaddik, probably not in the way the Alter Rebbe explains it in Tanya, the ultimate level where his ra has been transformed. So we're talking about an actual behavior. He's perfect in his machshava. He's perfect in his maisa. Perfect in his dibur. Even perfect in his machshava. That's understood. That I've got no issue. I mean, that's. Yeah. It could be that someone in his actual, that's what Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, in Ma'aseh Dibur Machshav is perfect, but it still doesn't mean that he's transformed his essence. The Alter Rebbe articulates that fully and at great length in Tanya. That's the point Alter Rebbe makes in Tanya.
The essence is not bad. The essence, true essence is good. It's really deep.
Well, that's true for everyone.
Right. So what part of it has been corrupted? What has got a problem in?
Where?
This part that made a political decision in a way for power to say, well, I'm going with the Sugim and not the Perushim. It's a in a decision, that was a political decision in a way.
But if you're a tzaddik, in the sense that the Alter Rebbe explains it in Tanya, it is not possible for that person to behave for political reasons or other reasons. He's a tzaddik. Yeah. But that's easier to understand.
Which means that limited the conditions. The high priest didn't have to be a tzaddik v'tovlo.
He did not have to be a tzaddik in the amitis shem hatoyar, as the Alter Rebbe explains it in Tanya. He had to be perfect in Ma'aseh Dibur Machshava. That's easier to understand than the fact that Mashiach, that a person can behave badly, and yet at the same level that he's describing Rabbi Yochanan Bezakeh and Yechon Ken Gadol, he should be a tzaddik, even tzaddik,
And is it a tzaddik v'tovlo? Is he aware that he's a tzaddik v'tovlo, or still?
No, that's the point, because he seems to be he seems to be implying that Rabbi Yochanan Bezakeh wasn't the level of tzaddik, as you say, tzaddik v'tovlo.
But he wasn't.
But you can't really.
You can never be aware of it.
He wasn't aware of it. You can't really point to it. Oh, I've arrived. Why? Because you're talking about such a subconscious level,
right,
that it's difficult to isolate it and to see what's going on. Mashiach will have the ability to, because Mashiach will be that level consciously.
Yeah.
That's the point. And therefore he'll be able to look at a Jew and say, okay, man hasn't behaved properly, but why? What's going on with him? What's going on with his essence? His essence is positive. It's just that circumstances have caused him to behave in the way he did. Then he'll find reasons and arguments to justify, to make the person innocent, to be melamed zchus on that person. Okay. Now let's go back to the posik. We started off with the posik on the Mamar. Veheinif, that when Mashiach will come, just like it was when by Yetzias Mitzrayim, when the Jews left Egypt, as we're reading in these week's Parshas B'Shalach this week, the sea was split. So too, when Mashiach comes, there's going to be a kriya. There's going to be a splitting of the sea. As we said, he will lift his hand on the river with the force of his spirit or his wind, and he will split the sea, the river, to 7 necholim, 7 channels. That's what the pasuk says. This is a reference to what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. Who's going to lift his hand? Mashiach will lift his hand. Right? So v'zeu gamkin ois dalad. V'zeu gamkin mashakosu v'heinif yadei ala nor bayam ruchavi kol shev necholim. This is also that which the pasuk says, that he will lift his hand on the river with the force of his spirit, and he will with the force of his wind, and he will split it into 7 channels. I'm not sure if it goes on Mashiach, if it goes on Hashem, but it's a reference to what's going to be at the time when Mashiach comes. What does this mean? The Yodo, it is known, just like the splitting of the sea when the Jews left Egypt was a preparation to the giving of the Torah. In other words, it was necessary for the sea to be split before the Jews received the Torah, before the revelations that took place at Matan Torah. So to the splitting of the river in the time to come, in the future time when Mashiach will come. This is a preparation to the revelation of the inner dimension of Torah, which will be revealed through whom? Through Mashiach. As the previous Rebbe explains in his Mamar, in the booklet that was given out for Pesach, we know that the splitting of the sea, that when the Jews left Egypt, it wasn't necessary to split the sea in order for them to go to the desert. Why? They did not split, the Jews did not cross the sea directly across the sea. It was like an arch. They actually came back onto dry land on the same side that they went in. Right? They made an arch. They went into the sea, a U-turn, and they turned back and they went back onto the dry land. So what was the point of the exercise? Ella, Inyikriyas Yamsuf. The idea of the splitting of the sea when the Jews left Egypt, it was a necessary step as a preparation for what? For the giving of the Torah. What? Why? Hinei the Indian Matan Torah is a Medrash concerning Matan Torah. The Medrash brings down Mashal HaMelech. The Medrash describes what was the condition, what was the situation between the physical world and spiritual worlds before Matan Torah, and what happened after through Matan Torah, and what was the situation after Matan Torah. So it brings a parable of a king who had two countries in his kingdom. One was Reimi and one was Surya, and he made a decree that the people from Reimi should not descend to Surya, and the people of Surya should not go up to Reimi. There was a gap. They weren't bridgeable. So Moshe Melech, this is a parable for King Shagozar who made a decree for Amar, and he said, "B'nei Reimi liyal Surya, the people of Reimi should not descend to Surya. B'nei Surya liyal Reimi, and the people of Surya should not go up to Reimi." And then, at some point, Botla Hagzera, he broke the decree. He said, "Okay, you can join together." So the same thing when the Eibush Hashem created the world, the Ruchni's dimension and the Gashmi's world, the Ruchni's world and the Gashmi's world were not bridgeable. They were not fusible. Right? What happened at Matan Torah? Matan Torah, that Gzeda was bottled. That decree was nullified, and now Ruchni's and Gashmi's can be bridged. But Matan Torah, what happened at the giving of the Torah? Bittul Gzeda, he nullified the decree of Amar, and he said, the upper ones should descend to the lower ones, and the lower ones should ascend to the upper ones. Fusion. This is the innovation of the fulfillment of mitzvahs after the giving of the Torah, as opposed to the ones before, because as we know, there was the fulfillment of mitzvahs even before Matan Torah. Our forefathers fulfilled all the mitzvahs even before it was given. What's the difference between their mitzvahs and our mitzvahs? Even though there was the fulfillment of mitzvahs before Matan Torah, before the giving of the Torah, through our forefathers, and also they fulfilled it with what? With physical objects. For example, of course, not all the mitzvahs were fulfilled physically. A lot of them were fulfilled spiritually, but nonetheless, there were those that were fulfilled physically. For example, the hospitality of Avram Avinu, and the idea of the digging of the wells of Yitzchak, and the thing and the Avedas Hashem that Yaakov did with those sticks. These were all matters that related to mitzvahs. These were actions that were fulfilled with physical objects. Nonetheless, the action of the mitzvah did not remain effective and lasting in the physical object with which they fulfilled it. The result of the mitzvah was only above in the upper realms, in the spiritual realms. What was the innovation of Matan Torah? That through the fulfillment of mitzvahs, change was actualized in the physical object with which one performed the mitzvah. That's number one. You bring about change in the physical object with which you perform the mitzvah. Even more so, not only does the change that it affects in the physical object take place when you perform the mitzvah, the change actually already takes place when you prepare to do the mitzvah. Even before the mitzvah was performed. As the Mitler explains in his Sefer Shari Eira, in the Maimon that begins on the Pasuk Yavil Levush Malchus.